Siobhan is in her 20s and I'm in my 30s. So we can't be friends because we're in a totally different decade. No, the experience is different. Mm-hmm. The need is the same, because while while some of my single friends were thinking I had all I needed because I was married, I was feeling neglected because I didn't have all I needed because I didn't have the freedom of being single. So we were both feeling neglected when I first got married, but we never really understood why. Like in some regard, I was feeling like you get up and do whatever you want to do when you wake up in the morning. You can go wherever you want to go. You can stay out as late as you want. And not saying that like marriage is a prison or anything, but
it's different.
I get up in the morning, and depending on my husband's schedule or depending on my schedule, I may not see my husband. So who gonna talk to me? He can't be my only friend.
That part.
That's weird.
I'm very... Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of In Real Life. And today I have Keiara Gladney.
Hi.
This is my girl. We met in college, my freshman year of college, actually. And I don't know what year are you, Keiara? Because
I graduated college in 2016.
Okay. Really?
So, yeah, I graduated college in 2016. Yeah, 2016. Yeah.
Okay, so when did you graduate high school?
I graduated high school in 2012.
Okay, so she's a year before me, guys. Okay, got it. So you graduated in the 4 years that she was supposed to graduate. Unlike me, 5 years, but we still finished. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. So I did an episode about motherhood. I think it was episode 2 of season 3, but I didn't really get into like being married because my friend, she's married as well. But I didn't really get into like the marriage aspect of being married in your 20s because it's almost taboo. Like it's almost like, oh, you married? Like you got a husband and you got like a whole family and stuff.
Yeah.
And like she has a kid. Her second kid is coming. Praise God. Do we know the sex of the
Yes, child? It's another boy. I'm raising kings around here. I got to think of it in a positive way.
Listen, I'm just hoping that you don't have a Preston and Jackie Perry situation where they had to kill
my goodness
fourth kid.
Yes,
the girl. It's the fourth, right? Yeah.
Yep.
I mean to get the boy because they have 3 girls already.
Yep.
And I was really like, literally, when she announced this pregnancy, I was like, God, don't let it be.
God, please honor their prayer.
I don't even know them like that, but I was just like, I'm rooting for a girl. Like,
right?
I feel like Jackie I'm rooting for a boy. I feel like Jackie needs a boy. I feel like Preston really needs a boy because he outnumbered in that house.
Exactly.
He is outnumbered. So yeah, hopefully you don't have that situation, but you have another boy, so that is amazing. So let's just get into it.
Okay.
Did you think that you would get married at a young age?
So yes and no. Okay. So the reason why I say yes is because my oldest sister is 13 years older than I am. We have a very close relationship. Actually, we are 3 days, but 13 years apart. So my birthday is this upcoming Tuesday. Hers is Friday. And so we have always had like a kind of like more like a mother-daughter relationship than like a big sister, little sister relationship. And my sister got married at 23. And so I kind of saw what that being married young looks like, that type of companionship and their type of friendship that they grew over time. And I remember, I think at the age of 18, I prayed to the Lord right before I went to college and was like, God, my desire is to be married by 23. When I got to college, however, my opinion of that changed because I realized that heartbreak sucks. I had realized that there's just a lot of sacrifice that marriage requires of you, like both as a person in terms of like how much you're willing to grow and mature in order to really be married. And then to be honest, I was just so scared of being married and it not being everything that I wanted it to be and everything that God like meant for it to be, to the point where I just really didn't want to get married, I guess, if that makes sense. I guess it was a fear that I was like, no, I'm not about to waste my time for this. And so God really had to, before I met my now husband, God really put me through like a summer of breaking down a lot of those walls for me, like a lot of those fears I had to come face to face with in order to prepare me for, meeting my husband and being willing to be okay with being young and being married.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think that I could definitely agree with you on that as far as the whole fear thing. Listen, me and Keiara are in two different worlds, but she married, got kids. I'm single, not just single. And let me explain that because people be like, "Are you single?" No, I'm single and not really like dealing with anybody. Like single, and no children. So it's like at one point though, I was like, I'm not getting married. No, men are no, absolutely not. I cannot. But you have to like go through your healing process in order
Yes.
to and allow God to be like, all right now, every man not like that one. Or those select few that you chose is a bad batch. Okay.
A bad one.
So yeah, I definitely agree with that. What are the stigmas around being married in your early 20s, and how did you ignore them? Because I know you heard some stuff, or maybe you didn't. I don't know.
I heard a lot of stuff, and usually, unless we are like, my husband and I are like in our relaxed setting, or people come to our house and they start asking us these questions, do we ever even like come out and say anything? But my husband and I courted um privately because we just didn't want to hear the noise of people's opinions about, me being young. And actually, my husband and I, like, my husband is older than me. And so then, of course, you have all of the questions of, is she really ready for this? Is she good enough, or is he good enough? And then you have the, they're getting married too young. They don't know anything. Like, they haven't experienced life. And then you have the, especially if you grew up like me in church and you were responsible of doing a lot of things in church, it was, well, you can't take her away from us. It was that type of like ownership. Like, if you're going to marry her, you need to move here, or you need to do this.
Wow.
And it was a lot of stipulations. There was a lot of stipulations that people said that God never spoke over us. And so we had to be very careful not to listen to the noise, because the noise can become perception very quickly. And so yeah, we heard a lot. We heard a lot of stuff. And even after Bernard and I got engaged, like, I kind of had to cut off some of my family because of the things that they would say to or about my fiance then, my husband now. And so yeah, they be talking crazy. Now that I think about it. And the crazy earth thing is that I think that I have the perception of being so nice that people take that as weakness so often because I'm young. And then so when I come back and I confront the stuff that was said, then of course they look at young people like, the other side of like, they ignorant, they don't know nothing, they just be popping off, but I was fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
Always fine with that.
I'm 100% with the whole keeping it private. Oh my god, no! I always tell people like anytime people see like guys on my story or something, I'll be like, y'all, any man that is on my social media is platonic. Like it is not that because I do not share. Y'all not gonna know till I get a ring. Like, oh, okay. Dang, wish she had a wedding. I'm gonna be on a honeymoon.
Yeah. People were so like especially because by that time, like people knew that I sang. My husband is a preacher. Then I was called into the ministry to preach. And then, of course, all of our friendship circles, professional circles, nobody knew we were dating until the day after we got engaged. And the only reason why people knew that we got engaged was because it was at my African American graduation.
Yeah, I remember the proposal, yeah.
And so pictures had to go out because people were taking pictures. Mm-hmm. So if it was up to me, like we would have been at the altar and somebody would have been doing a boomerang, like, you may not kiss the bride. But because I don't know, I just love building that love without opinions.
Yeah.
I think that's the most beautiful and solid way that you can build a good foundation.
Organically. Definitely. All right. Good question. Next. Well, all of them are good, but this is my favorite. What's the easiest part of being married?
The easiest part of being married is I guess always having somebody in your corner. I guess that's the easiest part because that person is married to you. Mm-hmm. So technically you're forever connected to that person. Mm-hmm. And like based on scripture, like that person's body, themselves, they belong to you. You belong to that person. So you always have a person in your corner. You always have a person that you can go to. You always have a person that you can annoy, mm-hmm. like that. So that's probably the easiest, having somebody in your corner.
What's the most challenging part of being married?
The most challenging part of being married is completely depending on the person in your corner. And I say that because I have been raised to be very self-sufficient. I've always been self-sufficient. I am the youngest sibling. However, I was probably one of the most responsible in my family. So taking care of my parents in college and all of that. And so when I met my now husband, it was very hard for me to think in my mind that I'm going to have to allow him to take a load off of me and take care of me. Like, no. Because if something falls apart, I still have to take care of myself. And the hardest part, I think I've gotten a lot better now, but the hardest part of being married for me was knowing that I have to depend on somebody else and not just myself.
Y'all got married, was it Christmas or Christmas Eve?
We got married Christmas Eve in 2016.
Okay, so y'all coming up on
5 years?
5 years now. Okay. So yeah, 5 years. What have you learned in 5 years so far?
I have learned. Okay, my top 2 things are to be honest even when it hurts. Mm-hmm. And the second thing is that forgiveness is an everyday process. So that would be my 2. Yeah.
Those some wise words, y'all. Forgiveness is an everyday process. The whole forgive and not forget, that's not real. I feel like it's not real. The only person who can forget what you did is God. That's the only person.
But it's kind of like, but even that thought of forgive and forget, it's kind of traumatic if you think about the human brain. Mm-hmm. Because for people who have gone through traumatic experiences, the mind can cause amnesia to the point where you can actually forget events in your mind over time. If you want to, you can suppress so much that you can actually forget. Mm-hmm. The problem is the pain of suppression when you decide to forget. And if you don't completely deal with issues, eventually they will cause everything around you to crumble. Every relationship that you care about, every person that you care about. And so forgiveness is an everyday process, because you really don't do it for them. Mm-hmm. You do it so that, number one, God can get the glory out of your life, and number two, so that you won't allow people to weigh you down to the point where you can't be free. That's really it. So, I mean, forgiveness for me was never like,
I came for it.
My husband was out here doing crazy stuff. Forgiveness for me was like, my feelings have been disregarded, or I felt like I wasn't taken care of, or I felt like I was neglected. Like, and you have to realize that a lot of times, a lot of things that we feel, if we don't express it, we can't blame other people for not changing it.
That's true. That's absolutely true. Do you feel your social life has changed because you got married young? And it's kind of a loaded question. Like, do women, one of my friends, you know Kayla. We did the whole girls versus guys thing. She felt like women were coming to her once they were like getting in a serious relationship, making that next step, and they were only being her friend for that reason, because she was so open with her relationship, and that was her choice, her and her husband's choice to do that. And it was, I know Kayla enough to know it was purely out of just like, hey, it's possible to seek godly relationships in your 20s, right?
Yeah.
That was her whole premise of doing that. Do you feel like people have treated you differently? Like, oh, she's a wife now, she's not Keiara.
Absolutely. I think that all of my friends from college, the funniest thing is we all went through this like growing pain season at the same time as soon as I got married, because I didn't just get married. I got married and then I moved. So I got married and then I moved an hour away, which may not seem like a lot to some people, but for 4 to 6 years that you've been able to get up in the morning, walk 5 minutes to your best friend's apartment, or walk 5 minutes to your best friend's house or whatever, that is a lot. That is a huge strain. And so we went through a season of like rocky communication, because I had to explain to my friends that I didn't stop being myself just because I got married. Like, accessibility might change because, I might be spending time with my husband, or I might be cooking dinner or whatever, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm there and I still want to be a loving friend. Mm-hmm. And I think the other side of that is, I think that marriage is a different responsibility and position. Mm-hmm. It's not an identity. That part. Like, I think that a lot of people become married and they set out in their minds, I won't even say all of those people do it intentionally, but you set out in your mind to be a relationship goal so much that you don't look at yourself as an individual. Mm-hmm. And I think I had to learn that very quickly after we got married, because if you just find your value in being married, you will never really see the totality of all that God wants to do with you. Mm-hmm. And within friendships, I think that a lot of people, they'll look at you and they'll say, well, I can't be friends with Keiara because she married and I'm single. So we in two different areas of life. That makes no sense.
You talking to me, because I'm that person.
Like, but that realistically, that makes no sense, because that's like saying Siobhan is in her 20s and I'm in my 30s. So we can't be friends because we're in a totally different decade. No, the experience is different. Mm-hmm. The need is the same, because while they were thinking while some of my single friends were thinking I had all I needed because I was married, I was feeling neglected because I didn't have all I needed, because I didn't have the freedom of being single. So we were both feeling neglected when I first got married, but we never really understood why. Like, in some regard, I was feeling like, you get to get up and do whatever you want to do when you wake up in the morning. You can go wherever you want to go. You can stay out as late as you want. And not saying that like marriage is a prison or anything, but
it's different.
I get up in the morning and depending on my husband's schedule or depending on my schedule, I may not see my husband. So who gonna talk to me? He can't be my only friend.
That part.
That's weird.
I'm very adamant about that. Like, as far as I've had friends that just disappear off the planet, off the face of the planet once they get in a relationship. I'm just like, wait a minute, I was here before him. Number one. Number two, and it's not on any like obsession stuff either. It's
Yeah.
like loyalty. That's
Yeah.
where it is. It's just like you still need that girl time. Like you still, a man cannot. Definitely, I definitely believe in men and women having platonic relationships. Definitely, like I have male friends, but like they can't give everything that they need to give, and they don't think the same way as we do. So like you need that time, that girl time, and for me, it's more so like, which I'm listening to you and I'm taking this in. I'm gonna be very adamant about that because I've always been like, oh, okay, well, not necessarily their husband is everything that they need, but like we just don't have the same lives anymore. So it's not like I can be like, hey girl, let's do this. And she like, well, I had plans to do this, or we tired, or whatever, whatever. And it's just like I don't want to be bothersome. I don't want to be like, oh, well.
Trust me, more of your single friends, whoever's listening, more of your single friends are waiting for you to reach out because then they don't want to be the bothersome person because other people have lives too. But I think that was one of the conversations that myself and my best friend were having because for maybe like I say 6 months to a year, our relationship was so strained because she wanted to be like, kind of like how you were with your married friend, like, I don't really want to reach out because I don't know, she's trying to still, figure out what it means to be a wife and I don't want to bother her. And me, I'm like, why she ain't reaching out to me? Why she acting all funny? I don't like that. But all it took was a conversation where we were honest and we were communicating well to where we both were misunderstanding the situation because I needed her because I was moving to a city in my situation. I was moving to a city where I didn't know anybody.
Right.
So all I knew was my husband. So that was weird because I didn't have friends no more that I could just go hang with or go to dinner with or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely that hour difference. That it don't seem like a lot, but it is. Like going 10, maybe 20 minutes to your friend's house, and that's like having a planned trip. You go an hour, you're not just going somewhere for like 30 minutes and coming back because you already drove an hour. Like
Right.
we about to plan a whole
A
day
whole day.
or something. Like we gonna do we gonna do something because
Yes.
my gas is not cheap.
Gas is not cheap.
Gas is not cheap.
Thank
So
you.
I guess this kind of piggybacks off of the next question. Do you still have like some women seeing you as like the young wife guru?
Um, yeah, yeah, I think so. I think people still look at me like, you know, like you just came into this thing, you don't really know a lot.
Mhm.
And it's so interesting that you asked the question because my husband and I were just having this conversation about another conversation that was had with us about basically being young, being married, and being parents now of not just one child, but two, and us really not knowing, in other words, knowing what we was doing. Okay. And I had to educate the person that I was talking to because um just because we make it look easy on the outside does not mean you know all the battles that we fought behind the scenes. I think that, and I and in the situation I think about David because when David went on the battlefield to fight Goliath, nobody knew the experience that he had acquired with the lion and the bear when he was protecting his sheep. But all you saw was the battle that he was about to fight with this huge giant. And I think that a lot of people look at those of us that are young and married and they say, well, y'all ignorant, y'all ain't been through nothing, like y'all just got married off of pure emotion. And it's like, no, this generation is really getting married because we love each other and because there is fruit behind the work that we've done, not just because we have to be married. And I think that's something that young people are learning. You don't have to be married to be fulfilled and happy. There's a desire that you can be. There's the word of God where God shows that you can be happy in singleness and you can be happy in being married. There's a blessing in both. But I think I had to educate a person and letting them know that there were battles that my husband and I fought, battles in fertility, battles in loss, battles in hardship, battles in pain that we have had to overcome to get us to where we are. And so when people ask us for wisdom in terms of when they get married, it's not just because we've publicized our accomplishments, it's because we have given God glory through our failures. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's what a lot of like older people don't get. Is like,
here's the thing though, can we just point out the fact that like I'm now that you were saying that, it just hit me that like most of them got married out of pure emotion and because they had
or pure duty.
They had to, like, the whole, oh, y'all got a baby, y'all about to get married, that's what's gonna happen. So like millennials, I feel like is a game changer generation because like we like, no, I want to pursue my dreams. Of course we have our own issues.
You know, every generation has their accomplishments and failures, so that's not, you know.
Yeah, but like we're more so like I want to travel, I want to explore life, I don't have to, that's not going to fulfill me. And I think that they still, older generations still have that mindset of like, okay, well, if they do get married young, like what experience do they have? And it's like you could still have experience being young.
Well, I mean, realistically, generations before us got married at 17 and 18. So I think that 22, 23, 25 is really old compared to our grandparents. Like my grandmother and my grandfather, my mom's parents, they got married at 18 and 19 and they had 18 children.
Oh, Jesus.
So you know, I'm it's just like, number one, that's the case. Number two, the difference between then and now is and I'm trying to say this in the right way, but it's whatever. Women are out here getting money. Mm-hmm. Okay.
That part.
Women are out here getting college degrees and achieving. Okay. Where generations before, women did not have degrees. Women did not have, you know, advancement in financial stability. And so there was a dependence and duty that woman had to that man so that they could have livelihood. Like a lot of women just didn't have areas of livelihood. Uh-huh. And because that is not a lot of women's issues today, they have an option whether they want to be married or not. Back then, women didn't have an option.
That's the answer.
So
right there. I mean, if you can provide everything that you need, especially financially, because that's really, like you said, that's really what women were dependent upon. Like at one point we couldn't own a house, like we couldn't do a lot. So the fact that all of this is available,
we couldn't vote. Like, you know, but
that makes it more, like you said, more of an option as to where, okay, whereas to more women are getting, especially Black women are getting more degrees than Black men, and it's like, okay, well, if you're not gonna come to the table equal or more, what why you here? What you here for?
I mean, and then scripturally, if we can just bring that into the picture, it's a lot of men are requiring submission when they are not requiring of themselves being a man of valor. And so, you know, a lot of this generation and society itself is so wishy-washy to where you're requiring all this from a woman, but you're not requiring all this from that man. Just like we talk so much about being a virtuous woman and you know, being chaste and being this and being that, but we never talk about these men being holy and being chaste and, you know, really being right.
Mm-hmm.
And so we gotta stop with the foolishness.
The foolishness, shenanigans. Shenanigans. How do you feel? Well, do you feel that you have to fight for your individuality in as far as like and I'm not gonna blame it on your husband. I'm saying like an internal battle as far as like, okay, have you ever felt like I need to get back to Keiara because you lost her along the way, or do you feel like you kept a good balance as far as like, okay, Keiara time, wife time, mommy time,
No,
family?
I was terrible. I was terrible. And it's not even, my husband is one of the most like laid back, go be with your friends
He
person.
seems like it.
Like he's just such a,
Um,
I want you to grow. I want you to mature. I want you to be happy. I want you to be, like that's him. And so, and I am the same way with him. And I think it took having my first child, Titus, and then going through postpartum depression.
mm-hmm.
And I didn't know anything about postpartum depression until after I had my son. And I feel like that's a problem in the Black community, but I'm not gonna go there.
That might have to be a whole nother episode.
But but I think that when after I got married, I was like super still like myself. I love myself, like embracing myself, still doing the things that I love doing for myself. But after I had my son, I went through kind of like a midlife crisis. Even though I'm super young, but I, I tried to commit suicide. I had postpartum depression because I really just did not feel like myself. I didn't know myself. I didn't love myself. And it had nothing to do with my spouse. Like it had everything to do with how I looked at myself in the mirror, and really the demonic spirits that were speaking to me, telling me that I wasn't good enough, or I couldn't be a mom and a wife and be Keiara still. Mm-hmm. And so I had to grieve the person that I was before I had my son. And then I had to go on a journey to find out the Keiara I was after I had my son. And so now being pregnant again is like a whole 180, because I love myself enough to take time out for myself. Mm-hmm. And I could see the signs after going to therapy, after going through postpartum depression. I know the signs of when I feel like I'm losing myself, and I stop and I reset so that I can be a better Keiara. Because the thing that a lot of wives and mothers don't understand is, if you are not well, your marriage is not going to be well. Your children are not going to be well. Your house is not going to have peace because you bring that peace. And so I more so had the issue not after I got married, but after I had my first child.
Thank you for sharing that. You didn't
No
have
problem.
I didn't know about the attempted suicide and all of that, like thoughts of thinking about that. I did know that you had a miscarriage, so I didn't know about that. But yeah, that's a lot I've heard. I've actually studied a little bit into postpartum, and I ain't even gonna lie, that's probably part of the reasons why I don't want to have kids, because I'm a little scared about that. Like that, it doesn't happen to every woman,
right?
But it's like it's a possibility.
But the thing is, the thing that I've learned that has helped me, and that have honestly helped a lot of other mothers that have come after me, is the enemy comes to kill, to steal, and to destroy. And I've also learned that darkness and light can't have fellowship at all. And so when things are not told, when truth is not expressed, darkness can consist. And then that's when a lot of the things happen. As soon as I started educating people on what postpartum depression was and what miscarriage felt like and what loss felt like, it's as if chains broke in hundreds of women's lives, because you can't address things that you don't know. Mm-hmm. In our Black community, I didn't even know how many women around me had a miscarriage until I told my story. Wow. And then I started getting calls and messages and emails like, in 1965 I had a miscarriage, in 1986 I had a miscarriage. And I'm like, Grandma, you should have told me in 26. Like, and then I'm sitting here like, wow, God, how many women would not have to go through a lot of these things had somebody just opened their mouths earlier. And so that's why I don't feel any guilt. I don't feel any shame. And of course that comes from the blessing of God and healing, genuinely healing. But I don't feel anything from telling of what has occurred in my life because I know it's going to help somebody so that they don't have to go through the same thing.
It's so thank you, Kier, for doing this with me. She secretly doesn't know that she's one of my favorite people.
Siobhan is one of my favorite people.
I look up. No, I'm not. Shut up.
I'm serious.
We are so much like when I had to remember because I kind of forgot about Kiera. Like she's crazy. We kind of like we don't play.
I'm here. I'm always here.
Me and her play all day. We both like don't cross us the wrong way. We gonna let you know how we feel in a godly way though. But it's still we still for the street. Like we know what's going on. We gonna let you know about yourself.
Okay.
We gonna tell it like it is. But we not gonna cuss you out or nothing. But you gonna get it straight for sure. Yes. And like I had to realize that the last time we was on the phone, and I was like, "Wow, I forgot that Kira's crazy. She's crazy like me. something's not right all the way up there."
No, it's perfectly accepted.
But I also admire whatever she's been through and like her vulnerability and like how much of a woman of God that she is. I so admire that and just her. She's been vulnerable since day one. That like I met her, stuff that she went through in college, and her just be like, "Girl, listen, I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. God told me to. I still went." Don't be like me when you grow up. Don't be like me.
Oh,
but I enjoy that realness because I really feel like the kingdom in general, but God's people need that vulnerability. Like everything is just not so, oh, I'm okay. People God are okay. No, most of the time we not okay.
No.
Majority of the time we're not okay. We're here to encourage each other.
Yeah.
Inspire each other. Like really speak the word over each other because that's what we need. We need that community. We need that realness. So I was like, I need to call up Keiara and do this interview because maybe some people who are having that strong desire to get married now are going through the he say, she say, whatever. And I'm a vouch for her. Just go through it privately because you sometimes it just needs to be you, that person, and Jesus.
Yeah, because people be lying. That's the other thing. People be lying.
And discerning, really, that's something that I prayed for. Like I've felt God strengthening my spirit of discernment because that I don't feel like that was just a gift that He gave me off the bat. I really had to pray for that and go through some trials and tribulations because a lot of people say God told me this. God ain't told them that to tell you that.
If I would have believed every person that walked up to me and was like, God told me you my wife, I would have been married like 5 times by now. And the thing is like, how? Like how we got the same spirit, right? But God didn't tell me. And I know I'm saved. I prayed every day. I mean, I still pray every day, but I mean, then I prayed. Like, He didn't tell me when I woke up this morning. When I prayed over my food, He didn't tell me. When I got in the car and I prayed before I got, He didn't tell me.
He didn't tell me, yeah. He told me yesterday, 5 minutes ago.
No.
You speaking to different people. I don't know. What's going on? It's the same God. It's the same Holy Spirit.
No, it might have been just a different Keiara.
Right?
A different one.
But yeah, so thank you so much. And I will see y'all next time on In Real Life.